You think?
Well, Gene Munster tweeted that, it's actually a lot better than people thought when you back out the China stuff. And he's right. And then Dan's point is, at some point, you're going to have to say, well, wait a second, you can back out all you want. How long it's going to last? The most encouraging thing to me was margins sort of hung in there for now. That was a surprise to me. I thought they'd come in a lot worse than that, and they didn't. They're hanging around, so that's good. And Karen and Steve were talking about the gaming revenue, which that's sort of old school Nvidia. Obviously not as big a deal, but that was an impressive beat as well. It's good enough to get the stock where it is. The question is it good enough to get to the all-time highs of 153 and change?
Gaming's still 10% of revenue, so it's not nothing. I mean, it's much smaller.
So you have the China ban, you have competition, and the hyperscalers where Christina said if, when you said if they continue to spend. She said if. So if you have Google and you have Amazon making their own chips, Microsoft pulling back data centers, there's a lot of ambiguity there, a lot of gray area. I don't think the Saudis replace that total income. I'd be a seller of this pop after hours. And I think it was just people were bracing for a lot worse than we got. I think it comes off here. I think you're looking at lower prices tomorrow.
Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Listen, I think the story has gotten pretty much on the equilibrium, right? There's still a lot of uncertainty, what we just talked about with the China situation. I think one of my biggest takeaways over the last month or so is that Jensen's literally been on the president's tail no matter where he's going. Yeah. And I think he recognizes the fact that they have the ability to kind of ramp up in the Middle East, and there's going to offset a bit of this uncertainty if he remains loyal to the president's causes. Christina just mentioned the Stratechery interview with Ben Thompson about a week and a half ago. I mean, he went all in. I support the president. I support his vision. I support this or that, whatever. I mean, these guys know how to play this sort of situation. So if they can ultimately get to a place where even if there's not some trade resolution and they get some sort of exclusions, they get some of this business back, they've grown the business in areas like Saudi Arabia, it's not a bad thing. I'm with Steve, though, and I've been saying this for now a while, the CapEx by the hyperscale, it's going to slow down at some point. And the rate of change over the last year or so has slowed down a good deal. And so we haven't reached that digestion phase. So that's likely to come. No one can put their finger on it. But Nvidia hasn't done anything in a year. OK, it's literally the same spot it was a year ago. And I think that's telling you enough. There's probably better ways to play this theme right now.
Although since the last earnings report, it's up about 12% versus the semiconductor ETF, which is 3%, basically flat. I mean, that's an interesting context in terms of going into this quarter. There's every reason to find fault with this quarter, but investors are liking it. They're bidding it up 5%. And maybe that also has to do with the sentiment in the markets at this point, with the narrative that the worst of tariffs are behind us.
The magnitudes of in terms of the absolute dollars, the dollars are staggering. The percentage beats, though, get less and less, seemingly each quarter, which... Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, that's the natural progression. But they're being rewarded for what I think are still beats from 3 or 4 quarters ago. And that, to me, is not the price to earnings valuation, but the price to sales.
So a couple of things. The margins being good, which you talked on, is really important. That earlier in the year was a big question mark, right? They talked about, when we scale up, we're going to see our margins improve. Maybe we'll see them improve maybe even a little bit more quickly. So that's good. But you get to, the AI story now does seem to have legs again. It really didn't about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so I think that that Middle East trip was huge. We had Elon Musk talking about 100,000 GPUs. And so all that having said, that's great. I do agree. It's sort of had an extraordinary run from 93, 90
what are you doing
something.
With your position?
I collared some, so so it is going to be smaller. So I'll probably do nothing then. At the moment.
Just on a price action standpoint, you think about this huge base it's been. Maybe they can give it on a 1-year basis. Mel, to your point, it's up 12% or so from that last quarter, but the stock's been all over the place within this fairly wide range. And the thing you have to ask yourself is, was there anything in the quarter that you can kind of expand or the guidance that they gave that's going to cause this stock to kind of re-rate and establish a new range? I don't think it's there, and I think we're likely to see a continuation of this sort of range that goes from really 100, let's take out the April lows, to this kind of $150 level.